Fit or Fit2 fan, I should say.
Indeed. Just hanging out at the bar, don't worry.
Yeah, this is the only bar we go to.
This is legitimately the only bar we go to.
We're here, you can see our lovely setup. We're going to chat you through some squats for the first time, and in a little more depth so we can get a few more form cues in there. You can see our setup here, to the right height for Bobby. When you set it up with that bar, you'll notice you want that bar to be a little bit lower than your shoulders. So if I was starting this would be a little bit too low for me. For Bobby, this is about right. It might be an inch too low.
Yeah, possibly a tiny bit too low, but this feels comfortable for me to get ready.
Now, on this setup, you will notice that we've got our lovely bar support here. What you're going to do is, if you've got that in the gym, is you're going to just slip it off that bar, and you're going to never see it ever again.
Unless you're doing hip thrusts.
Hip thrust is the only time that is acceptable, okay? Never use that for a squat. I know the bar might hurt on your back to start off with, but there's a ton of reasons why you shouldn't be using that. The first one is it places that weight in the wrong place in your back. It's going to mess up your lower back. I'd much prefer you to have slight bruising on your muscles while your body gets used to it, which it will do really quickly, than to put that weight in the wrong place and mess up your spine. So forgive us the theatrics, but
never forgive the theatrics.
Never forgive. We're going to talk through these squats. Now, starting off with this squat position, so before we even pick up that bar, one of the things that we like to talk about is how wide you're going to have your feet. Now, a lot of people really struggle with this and they're not sure, and the simple thing to say is there's no concrete answer.
Yeah.
The reason for that is everybody's hips are made up differently. The joint is literally shaped differently on different people. So what's comfortable for one person who might be able to squat down with quite close position, I can only get to about here, and taking a slightly wider position, I can drop down much further. Now you might be different. This is all different with parallel feet, and turned out we'll see what happens in a moment. But if you're not sure how to find that distance for yourself, one way of testing it is to jump up and down, squat, really relaxing those legs, and see where your feet land underneath you. For me, pretty parallel, ever so slight turn out, maybe 5 degrees. That's where I'd want to squat. Bobby's position is a little wider than that.
Mine is. Can you do the little jump test?
You have to do 50 jumps.
I do have to do 50 jumps. I can't really get into the zone with the jumps. So this is possibly a little bit narrow for my hips, knowing myself. So I like to take it a tiny bit wider. My feet are slightly turned out, and that was kind of how they naturally fell anyway. From there, yeah, that feels nice. That's a nice squatting position for Bobby.
It is. What you'll notice when he's doing that, or hopefully now if he does it again for us very kindly, is that his knees are bending directly over the line of your feet. So if I show you this front on that camera, feet position for me for a squat, my knees now should be bending pretty much directly over those feet. What we don't want is a nice turned out position for the feet. I'm going to do this only once, and your knees bending forwards like this. You'd be surprised how common that is, and it's super dangerous, so just check in with yourself and avoid that.
Absolutely. And one thing I like to do to find my true mechanics of my squat is to do a goblet squat. This is a nice little beginner's way of getting into these squats. So you find that position we've just talked about with those feet, and then from there hold that dumbbell close to your chest and go into your squat. Then you should feel pretty quickly, without a massive amount of weight, whether your position of your feet is right for your hips.
A couple of things you noticed really, really well demonstrated by Bobby there was that his head was in line, he didn't look up in that position, he wasn't arching there, his spine was straight, and he came down with control into that position and back up to a straight line position, no overarching. So let's set up with this bar, Bobby. You'll notice he's going to face the rig. You'll always want to do this when you're in the gym. The reason for that is the way to get the bar back should you fail a movement. You might even want to have safety bars on if it's your first time attempting this. Use a light enough weight, but it's good to have that option in place. So step into that bar. He's going to place his hands just wider than shoulder width to start off with, just a little bit wider so you've got space for your elbows. And he's going to set underneath. And he's going to line that bar up, you'll see here, with the meat on the top of his back. It's not on his neck here, it's actually on his traps, which is that meaty bit here. And you're going to pull down with your arms and elbows, almost like you're pulling it into that position, and step in underneath that bar. Now this is a high bar squat position technically, but we don't need to worry about a low bar position. We won't really be doing those. This is the one that people talk about when we chat about a squat. From here, Bobby's going to make sure that he's got nice engagement in his entire core and abdomen, good contact with the ground on both feet flat in that position as we mentioned. Grip is really, really good, As you can see, his neck is neutral, and just before he takes that bar off, he's going to take that nice in-breath in for us, filling in that tire around the middle, and then he's going to stand up straight and tall and take 2 steps backwards away from that rig. You can see now he should be pretty comfortable here with that weight. Any resetting he needs to do will be really, really minimal, just like that. And from here, if we imagine that midline from the side of the body down here, we're going to break that midline with the hips coming backwards and the shoulders coming forwards just a little bit. Start off this squat for us, Bobby. Cruel of me to make him do it nice and slowly. You'll notice that that bar goes directly down that midline and drive back up to the top. Excellent. This is very light for him, so he's very comfortable, even though I'm making him do it nice and slow. So you'll see it's really important that that bar goes straight down and straight back up that middle, whilst the body is working out around that. So Bobby's fantastically demonstrating that for you. I would demonstrate it in a terrible way so that you can see as well, but it's a little bit too dangerous. So whilst it might be fun or funny, we won't do it. One of the things that's really important here as well is Bobby's keeping his weight perfectly across his whole foot. So as he comes down, there's lots of engagement in that middle of the body, full weight, so he's not shifting forwards or back, and then as soon as he hits that bottom position, he drives back up to the top, just to that straight line position. Now, the depth of the squat, you will have heard tons of people saying, you have to squat ass to grass, you have to squat ass to grass. That is nonsense, okay? You squat to your ability. Now, the thing we want to avoid is called butt wink. It's when that hip at the bottom starts to rotate and your lower back starts to curve. Bobby is going to exactly the depth that he can go to without that happening. Let's demo that once more. Can you hold the bottom of this?
Yep.
Wonderful. You'll see here that that lower back is still wonderfully straight. So from there, he can engage his hamstrings, glutes, quads, everything to drive him back up to that top position. Now, if he'd gone a little bit further, which I won't ask you to do, I'll do it, okay? He's ready. We're going to show you, all in the name of knowledge. Let's give this a go, and we'll see if that butt wink appears. You'll see in those hips, it's tiny, right? But this is no longer straight. Those hips have actually rotated a little bit. So from here, it's slightly less active, really hard to engage everything. His lower back's going to have to help. So from here, he's going to lift back up. Now, whilst Bobby could do that, without my help, it's a lot safer to have somebody spotting you. From here, he's going to step forwards back into that rig and place it back down. So, hopefully we've covered everything squat-wise.
I think so. That was awful, just so you know. When you go that far down, I can see in the mirror, I can see exactly, I start to rotate, I've gone beyond where I need to be. Find that depth, find the depth that's right for you, find that squat position that's right for you.
100%. And the key to that again is, obviously it's tricky to check out in the mirror because you need a side angle, so film it. Chuck your phone up and film it. Obviously, try to avoid filming other people in the gym if you can. It gets a bit creepy. But and just review after each set in those rest times that you have, just check.
Yeah, and if you're unsure, film it, send it to us, we'll have a look at it, we'll let you know any tips and pointers that you need for your squats, and we'll get back to you.
Squat happy, friends.